So guys, this video is Tōkyō Ribenjāzu episode 7 review, and let's dive into it. Now I know it has been months since the last time I uploaded a Tōkyō Ribenjāzu reaction and or review. Well, technically both, just because I've been watching other anime and doing other videos, and plus dealing with some personal stuff on the side. So whenever personal things get in the way, it kind of shuts down my my stuff. Now I got completely hooked off of those first 6 episodes, and then just like I said, I kind of fell flat. So I'm basically trying to get back into the anime. Technically should have gotten fully caught up with the anime when it first came out over a year ago. I know that I started watching Tōkyō Ribenjāzu when it first started up, and I was only a few episodes behind, and then boom, life happened and got fully behind, and next thing you know, the season was over. But now that I'm back into it, hopefully I can stick with it and stay with it, so we'll see what happens with that. But all of that out the way, episode 7 was a really good episode. From everything that I remembered from the first 6 episodes, technically episode 5 and 6, leading into back here with Mikey and Draken and Taka and them running into Shiki, that I wasn't really, I didn't know what to expect in this episode, just because of what was getting ready to transpire. We see that the Taka was basically looking for Shiki, and he runs into him while being around Mikey and Draken. And I initially was thinking like, Mikey and them were going to just up and just get into it with Shiki. And definitely, I see that Taka does get into a little bit of a fight. Technically, he gets beat down by Shiki, but initially that's what I was thinking was going to happen. But that didn't occur. Pa steps in because Shiki's talking stuff. Because his crew is talking stuff. And they're they were hyping up Paul, because Paul was saying like, I got this, talking to Taka, you stay out of it, blah blah blah, I got this, that, and the third. Mikey's saying, don't worry about it, stay out of it, this, that, and the third. Paul's gonna handle his business. But Paul gets dropped. Now the thing about it is, with me, when I saw this occur, I was saying in my reaction, which you can watch here on the channel, I was just basically saying like, they, Paul must be holding back. Excuse me. Paul must be holding back. But that wasn't the case. He gets dropped by Sheik. He just gets totally just like dropped. Bloody nose, beat down face, just dropped. And I'm just like, man, like, so what's gonna happen next type of thing? Like, and then that's, he leans on to Mikey's shoulder. Mikey grabs him. He tells him that he's worthless, sorry for being worthless, blah, blah, blah. And Mikey's like, what did I tell you? You didn't, because he kept telling Taka, like, he didn't lose, saying it out loud for people to see. Technically, he was kind of whispering it, but people could still hear him say, Paul didn't lose. And he reiterated this to Paul, like, you didn't lose. What are you saying? You didn't lose. And I'm like, all right, now Mikey's getting ready to step up and do his thing. And he does, and he kicks Shiki in the temple, his left temple of his head. When you do that, you're done for. Like, technically you're not really supposed to be functioning all that well. You could definitely just enough be able to move around, but when you get hit in the temple like that, it's bad. And Draken steps in, and then that's when we see Shiki grab the bottle. Now the one thing, the very small critique that I have here in this episode, for episode 7, is that Shiki was laying down. He was laying down next to a bottle that was broken in half. Basically the top of the bottle, and you can grab it by the hand. He basically stabbed somebody with it. Now his face was turned to the left of the bottle, and he's laid out, sprawled out, knocked out. He literally reaches over and grabs the bottle, and I'm sitting here. That was my only critique of the episode. Sorry. Hopefully that didn't mess anything up with the recording. But yeah, my thing is that was my only critique. How could he have known that the glass broken bottle was laying next to him if his head was laying this way and the bottle was to his right? But he grabs, he tries to go stab Mikey, and then Draken steps in and he guts him. And at that point, I'm like, okay, it must be over. This, that, and the third, blah blah blah. But then that's when Pa ended up getting up because they were getting ready to leave, and he stabs Shiki in the back. And originally I'm like, oh man, like if he dies, because the police are on the way, I'm like, oh man, if he dies, he's not going to be alive in the future. Like, what are really, like, how much of an effect is this time travel really having on the future? Still kind of questioning it, but at the same time, I'm still thinking that I'm getting a little bit of an answer to my question, because of what gets talked about a little bit later in the episode. Now, once they leave, after the whole situation, we found out that Mikey and Draken got into it. Their factions is split up. Toman is split up. It still goes the way that Shiki had explained back in the future. In the future, saying that this is stuff occurred, blah blah blah. So, it's sort of slightly answering my question about this time travel thing. Like, what's really the huge effect when it's pertaining to going back and changing one small thing or a bunch of things in the past that they're looking to really ultimately, again, the ultimate goal is to save the brother and the sister. That's the ultimate goal. But what else is being affected and changed that has maybe an even greater effect in the future to come, each time he goes back to the original timeline. So, but what we see is, we find that out, and then we have the funny moment. It's really funny because, his homies come by to check on him. Draken comes by to check on him. We see them having this whole conversation. He had put this really dope puzzle together, and he had basically talked about how it took him three days, 72 hours to put it together. His friends were trying to take it apart, and he yelled at him. And then, like I said, Draken, he's talking to Taka about the whole situation, about the split up and stuff like that. Now, mind you, there was a bit of a funny moment back at the hospital when he woke up with Hina and stuff like that. But other than that, back at the house, we see him having a conversation with Draken, and Draken gets so pissed off that he slams his fist down on the puzzle, breaks it. Messed up, right? But then it was that I felt like, to me, watching the rest of what was getting ready to transpire, it was a lead into that. The puzzle was the start. The breaking of the puzzle was a start, and we see Draken and Mikey confronting each other. Just maybe roughly 3 days, whatever later, they're arguing about who's friends with Mikey, this, that, and the third, and then they just start taking pardon me. They arguing who's friends between, who's more of a friend. Is Taka a friend to Draken, or is Taka a friend to Mikey? Who's really Taka's friend between the two? But then we see them grabbing a lot of Taka's childhood items, bikes, bats, Game Boys, soccer balls, all this stuff, and they're just flailing it at each other, breaking them and all of that. And I'm just like, this is messed up, this is wrong, but it's hilarious at the same time. And then we sort of see Taka go into a sort of like a Super Saiyan stage. I believe I'll use that for my thumbnail for episode 7 here. We see him get into a rage, and he gets pissed off, and he's getting ready to go off on them, and that's when the episode ends. So really, really good episode, guys. Episode 7, I really enjoyed it today, and I'm looking forward to getting ready to prepare to sit down and watch episode 8 to see what happens next. More than likely, Taka's going to yell at them. I believe he is, but I enjoyed episode 7, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next in the coming episodes to come, but definitely episode 8 to come. But with that, leave some comments in the comment section below, guys. What did you all think of episode 7 when you first sat down and watched it for the first time? Let's talk about some things. But other than that, I will hopefully talk to you all next time with more Tōkyō Revengers videos. Peace, guys.